I tell everybody else then?
Please do, yes.
Voucher systems would
Government
be
gives you
where
money.
the
State government gives you money.
Government gives you money. The state government gives you money to go to a private school. And what happens there usually is that voucher is not enough to cover the full tuition of a private school. So then you're having to pay some out of pocket, which sounds great for people that have enough money to pay a little bit or some out of pocket for their kids to go to school. But those people that cannot afford to do that, what happens to them? They are shit out of luck.
Exactly.
So charter schools, state funded, public funded, free to go to. What he talked about was $200. Most charter schools require either the families to kick in some sort of money per year or to volunteer a certain amount of hours per year. That's just a charter school thing. That's not a tuition. That's just one of their requirements.
Well,
but charter schools, public school, it is publicly funded. It's got a board that gets money and distributes that through their school. I personally, now that Marion's on here, I personally don't like charter schools. I've been in and out of several of them, and I've seen them skirt the rules quite a bit. I don't think that they do better necessarily than public schools do. And I don't think that for special needs kids, they have the same kind of abilities typically to work with our students that public schools do. But that's my opinion on that. But the difference between vouchers and charter schools, vouchers, money to go to private school, charter schools, funded by state, and
for that impact break, much appreciated. As is the case, before you leave, as is the case, the people that are left on the panel for the evening, as we wind down and have last words. So, Francis, is there anything else that you would like to add for our conversation? By the way, Francis is one of our mods friends.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Touching base, how are you? We are taking a quick 30 minutes here just to see what's going on out there. And we're going to hop into live here. So, RFK Jr.'s, hold on, whoa. Right, casting, loving. Is Castro loving communists? Trump is embracing the communists. Okay, so now you're saying RFK Jr. is a communist. So let me ask you something. So who said that? Let's go back to intelligence. I wanna start like addressing. Okay, what was that? Kane's 5 champ 5. You still here, Kane's 5 champ? Let's figure out what you're saying here. So the problem with what you're saying is that, let's start thinking out the box and let's start figuring out how you think. So let me ask you something. Do you ever heard of the Joy campaign? Do you know how have you ever seen communist countries do campaigns for their elections? So they always use specific words, right? And one of the words they use is like own nothing, you'll be happy. Let the government own everything to help you. So communist countries always come down to you owning nothing and being happy, right? Strength through joy is not a Nazi phrase. So, strength through joy is not a Nazi phrase. Okay. So, I mean, we're happy to dig into it. We'll take, let's see, how would we look this up? Has the word joy ever been used? And let's see, Nazi campaigns. Let's see here. So we'll dig into a little bit of fun here, but at the end of the day, and we got to dig into a lot of this stuff. But I will dig into a lot of this stuff here because we're gonna have fun. We're gonna dig into it. But as we dig in, let's see here. What do you guys got? Let's see. Strength through joy is not a Nazi phrase. You're right. It's Marxist. Okay. So, I mean, at the end of the day, these are things that you have to watch. Now, I don't know what side you're picking, but at the end of the day, the one phrase that matters is the government has full control. The government is here to help. And that is kind of the ideal of, everything that's ever gone wrong in every other country. So if we're dealing with that, we should be aware of that, right? So, but what I want to kind of cover is this. So, how many people, there's a lot of confusion out there. I think as a unit, we need to come together and not only debunk, but find the re-debunking. So, if you debunk something, did you actually do the research yourself? You're trying to spin words to correlative negative historical similarities. Yo, Jay Rican, let me ask you something. Does obviously you're on the blue side, right? So, and I'm just here narrating, right? So, don't you think that your side does that too? Let me ask you, since you're so excited here. Do you think that your side doesn't do that too? Does your side ever do that? Do the Democrats ever do that? I mean, I was watching a video. It's kind of interesting, right? And it's kind of, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So this is where I'm saying the Democrats do that too, right? And both sides do it. And at the end of the day, as Americans, we need to separate ourselves from this rhetoric. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is we need to come to some type of middle ground to start, right? Because you can go any direction you want. But the very first thing we need to do is come to a middle ground and say, okay, how do we get to the best results for us? So let me ask you, Jay Rican, do you think, and this is just an ideal. So for me, I feel like this. I think that any political job that is held in an office voted by people, where we can come together and say that if our politicians are paid by taxpayer money and we elect them to do a job for the people, can you agree that they shouldn't have any type of outside money, like campaigning funds, lobbyists? Because in today's world, right, media is free. You have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You have all these places that you can put campaigns on that you don't have to pay for. So as American people, shouldn't we all figure out how to start a movement to get rid of lobbyists, right? People who are paying our politicians are getting influence. And it doesn't matter what we say, it just isn't right. Right? That makes sense? Can we all agree on that? That's not, bro. So Paul Stabber, that's not very capitalist of you. That's where stupidity comes in. Okay? No, this isn't capitalism. Taking money to be persuaded is not capitalism, brother. Okay? So first of all, remove that from that. It's just, this is the problem. You say things that are just so ridiculous that this is why social media should have a thing where your IQ should have a level, and if you don't pass it, you're just not allowed to speak. I'm sorry, bro. So anyways, capitalism has nothing to do with that. So let's get back to the intelligent people here. At the end of the day, intelligence is going to matter. Don't we all agree that we need to get to a point where we remove lobbyists? right? Because if we're paying someone to do a job, if you're a political person and your job is to represent people, I don't want anyone that we're paying to represent us to get money from third party options to have their decisions, weighed, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So that's where we need to start. I think this is after the last two campaigns, the last of the two elections. I think we should be at the level of saying this isn't the whole thing is bad, right? The whole thing is terrible, and we need to start with one thing, right? And the one thing that we should there's two things that we should do. One thing is this: we should all be talking about removing the options of campaign money. No lobbyists. No, the only campaign money, and just no campaign money. You don't need money to campaign. Okay, you don't need to travel around the country to shake babies' hands. You can do speeches virtually from your office around the world. Okay, you don't need to campaign. You don't need to go out there. You don't need to do those things. You can simply speak to people on the internet. That makes sense? I mean, we have all this. We're talking to each other right now. We're all here around the world, and if there's any speech that's going to happen, we can all tune in on TV. That makes sense? You know what I mean? And that's kind of where. Let me see here. So that's something we should think about first, right? Like how to remove lobbyists, right? Special interest groups, right? Because that's where the whole thing gets a little crazy. And the second thing is, as we move forward, can we all agree that when someone writes a bill or a policy or an amendment, that the bill is only focused on the bill? And what I mean by that is this. If you write a bill for Medicare or the border or for health care, that there's no other language inside of the bill that sends money to anything else. Like inside the bill, there shouldn't be, on a bill for the border, there shouldn't be other parts of the bill saying that we're sending X amount of money to Ukraine or Israel or other countries, or that Utah gets a bridge, or Oregon gets a bridge, or all these special interests, right? That makes sense? That makes sense? Would that be right? No riders, sure, but that's the two things that we should be focused on, right? No extra riders, no extra language, and getting rid of lobbyists, because it's the only way that we can understand or at least get clarification that the person that we voted for is at least has some morals or is at least doing a job because they want to do a job for the American people versus dealing with anything else out there. That's kind of where the whole point is, That's kind of the beginning. So if we're talking about anything else, we can talk about, look at bills and things like that, but we need to be more, dissecting, and we need to be more honest with what we find, right? So I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Yeah. Each party does what they can to make sure the bills don't pass that make the other party look bad. Exactly. And that's because they're fighting over money. You see what I'm saying? all these bills that are good for the people don't get passed because they're fighting over money, and they want little, riders and little underneath things to pass for their special interest groups or kickbacks. We get hung out to dry because they're both trying to figure out how to get money for the people that they're, being elected by, and they're completely disrespecting our position that we're hiring them for, because we're hiring them to be senators and governors and presidents and all these things for our country, the people, and they're not representing the people. Let's just be honest. So hold up, you're making a great point that money is bad, so elect a billionaire from that system. So here's the problem with that. You're on the flip side, you think when the DNC has Michelle Obama on stage wearing a $3,000 pair of pants, you think that all the money the Democrats are getting for their funding, right, is coming from where? Where do you think the Democrats are getting their money? Where do you think the Democrats are getting their money? Right, another level of an oligarch. Right. So what you're saying is I don't want to vote on Trump's side because he's a billionaire from the past, but the side that you want to vote for is getting funded from billionaires of the past. Do you see what I'm saying? So the problem is because Trump is in front and he's actually saying what he wants to say and he's running himself, versus the other billionaires that are having their puppets do it. So you want to vote for a puppet instead of the billionaire that's in front. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. That's what I mean. How is the guy a bad apple? That's another thing, right? So you're falling into, what do you have? What do you give me a point? What happened? What's the problem? What did Trump do? So everything was 40% cheaper and we were making more money. Now everyone's losing their money and high inflation and everybody's savings have dropped 90%. So Epstein. So let's go through this. Epstein. All you have is a picture of him hanging out with him, but so does Oprah, everybody. Everybody in the DNC has pictures with Epstein. So what are you saying? Right? The only difference is they went to the island. There's nothing about Trump on the island. Okay? Felonies. You're talking about business people being sued. There are no felonies that are actually criminal. It's all civil. And racism. There's nothing ever that he was racist. Okay? Give me one racism point. Give me one thing on racism. Let's start there. Racism. Trump called for harsh punishment for the Central Park Five. How does that make him racist? Let's go. I mean, so no racism. You're talking about regular business practices. We're talking about racism, right? And the Central Five is that everybody, you gotta, did you go see who actually condemned the Central Park Five? It was Democrats. And Trump just said, well, I mean, if you did the crime, then, it's a crime. What do you want him to do? Make opinions on everyone that's in a crime? He's not the one deciding if they were guilty or not. If someone did a crime, they did a crime. That's all that is. So refusing to rent a POC. I mean, is that really racist? You know what I mean? So I know everybody wants this, everybody wants to believe that everybody has this kind, beautiful heart, but you have to do a little more digging in the POC to see if that actually was racist, right? It doesn't matter. So I think that a lot of times you guys take something and you make it like your perception of it is a little bit, skewed, right? So if you owned a business and whatever, I'm gonna go look in your POC. I'm gonna pull that up, and let's see here, and I'll go through it and I hope it has some teeth in it, right? Trump POC. Okay, so I'm gonna dig in there and go through the language because let's see here. He was sued for not wanting to rent to blacks. Okay, so we'll dig into that. Like I said, these are things that we need to do full research on. A lot of times when color's thrown in there, you also have to go look at the whole scenario, right? It's unfortunate if whatever it was happened to be black people or white people or Asian, if it was incorrect, right? The first thing we have to go do research on is why, right? So before I can look into something and decide something, I got to go do some research. I can't just listen to people say that on here, as far as that. Because then you're telling me, let me ask you something. K-Crawl 1. You there, K-Crawl? Let me ask you something, K-Crawl 1. Did you vote for Biden? K-Crawl, did you vote for Biden? Jay Rican, did you vote for Biden? Okay. So K-Crawl, you voted for a man that on the Senate floor said that, listen, did you know this? I'm just going to ask you. So you voted for Joe Biden, right? And Joe Biden was on the Senate floor. And he said that he didn't want to have predators or animals moving into his neighborhood. He didn't want black people moving into his neighborhood because they would assault his grandmother and hurt his family. Were you aware of that? He called them predators. Yes, he did. He called them predators. Okay? That's something you have to look up. Right? And this is what I mean is that we're so divided that everybody's pushing racism when they're racist. Right? American people need to get away from racism and all the BS, and we need to get to politics. We need to figure out how to get a third party option where we can start putting people in office that represent American people, like Americans, not black, not white, not Asian, not whatever, but American, right? Because our tax dollars and our kids and our education and everything that we are come down to everything that we are and everything how it comes down to literally comes down to the American people, right? It doesn't matter what color you are. It matters that we all have the same opportunities. And when we waste money and we print money for no reason and we send it to other countries, that money could have went into our neighborhoods. Think about all the money sent to Ukraine, right? And Israel. If we would have put that money into Chicago, the schoolings, right? Spent that money in the low income sections of all the major cities and also the southern cities and bring up all poverty people, then Americans would be better off because more Americans would have got taxpayer money. So a lot of people don't care about paying taxes as long as it helps America. What we don't want to do is pay taxes that go to foreign countries. That makes sense? Right? And so that's the question is, and I like that because it says, you know, all we need is another corrupt party. But what if we did a party that was, where we kind of focused on holding them accountable, right? What if we were sending, holding things accountable, right? So let's say if we elect a senator or a governor or a mayor, and the people in that area had things they wanted to get done. And when that senator, governor, or mayor didn't do what they said they were going to do when people voted them in, then they would just vote them out the next election as a unity. Right? We need accountability. That makes sense? We need accountability. We need to when people tell us they're going to do something, we need to see them at least try to do it. And we all know that sometimes when you're a president, you're dealing with Senate and you're dealing with Congress. So you don't get the things that you want passed all the time. So it's a very tough situation. But if we can watch who says no to things that are good for the American people, then we as a people know that we need to vote that person out because they're stopping progress for the American people. So this is a long, long journey, but it starts today. It starts where you start learning that you got to come together as American and then decide what direction you go. Because at the end of the day, everything that's done is going to happen to you, your neighbors, your family, and the people around you. And that affects you. Okay? Because if people in lower class neighborhoods don't make money and they go into poverty, they will steal, rob, and from you because you have it. Violence goes up when people don't have things. And recessions cause issues. When people starve, everybody starves, right? Everybody in America who's an American the proper way, have gone through their paperwork, has the right to be, prosperous, has the right to the American dream. The American dream doesn't exist anymore, right? You can't get a house. You can't afford things that you want. You can't do the things needed. So we need to change what's going on so that we can get together, right? That's what we need. Yeah, the media is to blame, for sure, 100%. The media is terrible, but we all think we can listen to the media, right? It's terrible. We need to learn to read policies. We need to learn to go look at the votes, the yays, the nays. We need to go get the information that's documented inside of records. We need to watch the congressional hearings. We need to find out who's lying to us so that we can vote out the ones that are, right? That's the only way. You can't listen to media. Media will change the narrative. They will change the way you think. They will make you think the way they want you to think. And that cannot happen. You need to start thinking for yourself. That makes sense? Everybody lies. Everybody lies. But you have to dig in there. So, John, give me something that the left lies about. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to debunk everything and then have a source that makes sense. Right? We got to dig into these narratives. So like gas prices, productivity, you're talking about the pipeline. There's a lot of things that people say happen, but we got to go find the statistics. We got to get all the information so that we have one exact source. So what I want to do here is I want to go through all the things that you guys hear and all the things that you believe. And then we can go here and I will go find the research and I will make videos and documentation on the real information so that we don't have to keep guessing on what people are saying, right? Okay, so Kamala not being in charge of the border is a lie. That's actually is a lie. She was in charge of the border. Certain things like that are true, right? You sound like the left. You have to be getting paid. See, that's your brother. Let me ask you something, user. I don't even know it's worth wasting my breath. Your news outlets on CNN changed the narrative of the news, and you don't even pay attention. This is America, brother. right? We need to start coming together. All parties do it to keep us distracted, right? And it's true. We have to get out from the parties, okay? Stop getting into the party debates. Start getting into the person debate. Who's lying to us? Who's done what they didn't say they were going to do? Who's connected to the big money? We got to follow the money. Who's passing laws that has other laws attached to it? Who's supporting things that aren't good for America? You have to start thinking like an American. You need to be the American party, man. That's it. Everybody lies. Everybody has their moments. And sometimes they're not lying to lie. Sometimes they're being told information that they say. Sometimes they lie to lie, right? There's a lot of things going on here that we need to dig in and get the information ourselves. BlackRock's a problem. Vanguard's a problem. All these people, they're problems. We got problems. The media is one of the biggest problems. Democrats are socialists. So not all Democrats are socialists. Okay, that's why we're having, the discussions, right? So the missionary family life. Not all Democrats are socialists, and that's the mistake. Some are, but when you bring them on and you debate them, that's why I always, when I get back later tonight, we'll bring them on for debates. But once you talk to them, most of them are just like everybody else. Just like how Democrats think that all people voting for Trump are for the companies, the corporations, and nobody is. Nobody on Trump's side is for corporations or big money. And Democrats think that that's what they think. And everyone on Trump's side thinks that everyone on the blue side is all socialist, which isn't true. They're Americans, and they're thinking the same way that you do. The media is changing the narrative to make you feel about those people. And then when people come on and talk, some people say the dumbest things. And it's like, we can't judge our fellow Americans based on just small amounts of people that say stupid things. We need to come together and create a platform where we can talk back and forth and build a nation of Americans, right? We're all in the same boat, guys. We're all in the same boats. You know what I mean? That's where we have to start. It's a very big uphill battle, but man, if we don't start today, then we're never going to be where we need to be, right? And at least we tried. It doesn't matter. I personally, I think it's so far gone. I don't know how much of this corruption you can get out of here. I think this is terrible already. But if we don't say something, if we don't start somewhere, then it will never. We can all look back and say, man, what if we would have tried? I mean, that's all I'm saying. I just want to, at the end of the day, I want to say, man, we tried, right? I don't want to walk away and be like, we didn't try. That makes sense? We got to try, right? We're all in the same storm. We're all drowning out here. That's the point. We're all drowning. None of this works for the American person. It doesn't matter if it was red or blue. If they spend too much money, and it's our money. And they're not helping out our neighborhoods. They're not helping out our people. America's America. And that's where we need to start. So what I'm going to be doing is, and I don't know what time is best, but maybe like doing every day Central Time, something like a 5 o'clock or a 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Central. We start hopping on and discussing and debunking things together, and going through information that we can find together and start helping each other find the truth so that we can find our similarities so that we can become Americans and figure out a way to save us. That makes sense? You know what I mean? First thing is first, we need to get rid of lobbyists. Okay? I don't care what you think, but when people get paid to from big pharmaceutical companies, I don't like it. When people get paid from, organizations, we got to look at that. We need to start there. Second thing is we need to start with bills and things that are policies. We don't want any underlining policies. If you're fixing the border, fix the border, right? But don't fix the border and then send money to Egypt or Israel. Like, what is that? Nobody was talking about sending money anywhere when we're trying to fix the border. Like, don't put underlining things in our bills that we don't find and then get kickbacks to people. Like, that has to stop. One bill, one thing, get it done, right? That's it. The lobbyists need to go. And that's where we need to start. The lobbyists need to go. And then we need to start finding honest people. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, I'm telling you. But this is America. And if you want to look back in a decade from now, 10 years from now, and say, damn, we didn't do the right thing. Or do you want to look back and go, man, we started to do something. Get rid of the lobbyists, right? That makes sense? So I'm going to invite a panel. I'm going to go back and I got to do some research to do. But I'll be back on later tonight and I'm going to invite a panel. But every day during the week, I think we should do like Tuesday through Friday. We should do 5 o'clock Central and invite a panel up. And we go talk and figure out, debunk everything, find everything, and like really dig into what's happening here so that we can at least know who's lying to us. Right? That makes sense? That's a good idea. Laws against political lying. Yes, I like all that. Give them fines. They should be fined. Right? I mean, because, man, this is terrible. But this is where I think we have to start. We got to start coming together and saying, okay, listen, we're both hearing lies and we both are getting false news. And we got to get the right stuff. And then we can make decisions for our country. Right? But that's it. And you can't say we know who's lying because there's lies everywhere. But until you come together and you agree to find them together, you will never get out of this. Okay? It's like being in between an argument between mom and dad during a divorce. You don't know who's lying, but we need to find out. Right? We need to figure out who's telling us lies and get rid of that and get to the real facts. And then we need to find out who's giving away our money when we don't want that. We need to find all that stuff and dig into that so that we can hold them accountable as a group of Americans. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we need to hold them accountable for everything they do so that way we can move forward and not be used and manipulated moving forward. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. And we can dig in over the last 8 years. We can go back 12 years. We can start in 2008. All right, we can go back to 2008 and let's find out. Let's go back to 2000. All right, let's go back to when money started. Let's go back to 2000 and find out what has happened to our country and figure out what we need to do to fix our country. Okay? It doesn't matter on what side you're voting for. We need to hold them accountable. Okay? No matter who wins the election, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. So that the American people can at least see what their money pays for. That's all I'm saying. Hold them accountable. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. When they make something in the public, they should be held accountable. Politicians make any public comments, they should be held under oath. I mean, don't tell us a bold lie to our face. We are done with politics. Don't tell me that you want union labor in the state of Ohio and Wisconsin and Chicago and then go to California and say, I don't want union labor. You just said last week you were. We need to hold them accountable, man. Yes, it's easier said than done. And it is, it's true. It's easier said than done. But we have to start somewhere. And now that we have all this social media and we're talking, let's start today. Let's start now. Right? Easier said than done. But you know what? If you don't do it, then it's just not done. Nothing worth doing is easy. Nothing worth doing is easy, okay? So don't forget to follow. Follow real quick. I'm going to start this up and I'm going to create a show that we can come on every day, 5 o'clock Central, all right? And we're going to come together, Democrats and Republicans, Trump and Kamala, and we're going to talk and we're going to get to the bottom of the real things. And we're going to have our own think tank. We need to stop letting all these people tell us what to think, right? Because we're all Americans. We all live around each other. We all pay tax dollars. You got to come together to figure out what's best for America. Period. That makes sense? Corporations, yeah, I think we all agree corporations are terrible. Now, I don't think anybody here is going to say that corporations are good. I mean, Walmart needs to pay more taxes. Amazon needs to pay more taxes. You know, all these big companies, Microsoft, they need to pay more taxes. For sure. 100%. See, whether you're a Trump supporter or a Democrat supporter, we all agree that corporate needs to pay more money. That's just the truth. Nobody's disagreeing. That's what I mean. We need to be America. We need to become American. Okay? And Seb, so we'll go over how that'll help. I mean, so if you understand like which ways to do something, you have to get education on it, right? That's all we're doing. So don't forget to follow, and you can bring up your questions, and we can talk on a panel, and you can voice your opinions and what you think, and then we can do more research into it, and then we can get to the bottom of this. If we don't come together, then we deserve what we get. Okay? We are all American here, and the only thing that matters is the American family. That's it. And we need to figure this out before it goes on and on and on. Okay? There is no reason for medicine to be that expensive. There is no reason for our taxes to be that high. There is no reason for our food to be this high. There is no reason for any of this. We are being played, manipulated, and used as a country, and we have to come together. And once we come together, then we can move towards the things that are democratic, which means majority votes, majority rules based on society. Right now, we're not getting a fair shake, right? Lobbyists control what your politicians vote for. Lobbyists and corporate America control what things come into. That's it. That's all that it is. So don't forget to follow, guys. We're going to start doing this every day. We'll do Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Central till 8 p.m. Central, and everyone will be able to. We can go dig into all the things that we hear, we see, and all these things, and then I'll make a website and I'll get all the videos up so we can have facts, data, and information, and we can have the right information so we can move forward as Americans, right? And it doesn't matter who you vote for. At least just get the right information. At least see who's lying to you. At least see who is giving us bullshit. And then once we get rid of the bullshit, then we can make decisions. And everyone will be happy. Because we're making decisions on what our morals are, what we believe, and what we stand for. Versus fake media, corporate America, and what lobbyists want you to believe. You know what I mean? And that's all we can do. We gotta bring this back. We gotta start somewhere. Does that make sense? That's all I'm saying. So don't forget to follow. We'll kick this off every day at 5 p.m. Central. We'll go for a couple hours. We'll dig into all the stuff we need to dig into, and we will find the information we need to at least start a journey on becoming a better America. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a long road. But man, if in a decade you want this a better country for your family, for you, for your children, we got to start today. Because this has just gone too far. That makes sense? It's just gone too far. I mean, it's just too far, man. We owe it to everyone who's ever gave their life for this country. All our family members that went to military, the family members we lost in war, people who have been here, people who have been wronged, people who have been mistreated. We owe it to the American people. Everyone who gave their life for this country, we owe it to the people that love this country. That's all it is, man. We owe it to the people that love the country and our own country. That's it. That's all. So you can vote blue, you can vote red, you can vote whatever you want. Don't forget to follow. We're going to come up here and talk, and we're going to get through the information. All right, guys? Okay? And we'll find out the truth together. It might not be what you want to hear, might not be what you thought was going to happen, but at least we'll know as Americans. That makes sense? So tomorrow, 5 o'clock Central, every weekday, 5 o'clock Central, and we'll ruck it into the weekend as well. 5 o'clock Central, we will hop on here and talk about what's happening and who to hold accountable. Does that make sense? All right, because we got to get this done, man. We got to get somewhere this year, and we'll continue this. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. So let's dig in, do our American thing, and let's create a better America by just learning to talk to each other and figure out what's going on. All right. Good luck. God bless, guys. As always, follow before.